Hi everyone. In today's video, I want to share with you two really important awarenesses to have if you're working on changing some patterns in your life, if you're working on changing behaviors, or if you're working on healing your own body. And I gained these awarenesses as I was going through my own experience of healing my body. And it's something that comes up again and again when I work with people as well. And I think to have these awarenesses can be very helpful for people, no matter what kind of situation you are wanting to move beyond in your life. Before I go into that, I just want to mention really quickly, I do have a newsletter, and I will send out a new newsletter on this Thursday, and it will have a discount code on personal sessions with me. The link is below in the description box if you want to sign up for the newsletter. I would love to have you on there as well. So, back to these 2 points. The first one is, are you trying to fix yourself? Now, if everything you're doing, whether that is changing a pattern, whether that is trying to heal your body, whether it's changing behavior in some way, and it comes from you trying to fix yourself, you are actually just again and again and again playing the program that there's something wrong with you. If you have to fix something, it implicitly says that there's something wrong. And so if you are trying to fix something about yourself, how can that possibly be in the same frequency as having expanded beyond that pattern or being healed? Because it already comes from a frequency, oh, there's something to fix. And it can be very challenging because we can have the experience of, yeah, but I'm still in this pattern. This situation is coming up in my life again and again and again, and I keep doing the same thing. I keep attracting the same thing. Or it can be on your own healing. You're coming to a certain point, and then it's improving, and then suddenly it's going. You're taking a step back, and you don't understand why. If you keep telling yourself that there is something wrong with you by telling yourself that you have to fix something, that is very different than coming from a place and a frequency of deeper self-love. I want to expand beyond this pattern. I want to expand into my potential. And so I'm going to move past this. Because you already know that you are not the behavior, you are not that pattern, you are not that ailment or disease in the body. And so by detaching from that, and this is one of the things that I will say one of the best choices I made when I was on my healing journey was to never identify myself with any diagnosis. I kept a distance from it. I refused to see myself as that diagnosis. And this is really important because that is just what I'm talking about. It's detaching so that you can see that your potential is way bigger. It's much more. It's not because there's something wrong with you. So if you're telling yourself that you have to fix something about yourself, watch it, because it's coming from a frequency that is not a match with being healed or being free of a pattern. So keep that awareness with you. It just keeps you looping in circles. The second one, this is really important, and this can be a bit of a tough one because we really have to face ourselves. We have to see the deeper layers, and it's important to remember that it's the subconscious mind that runs the body. It is not the conscious mind. So even though we are consciously doing whatever we can to change something, if it's not really working, there are subconscious beliefs or something that is limiting us or that have something to gain from it, which is this point. So point number 2, what is your fear of being healed or being in the new pattern or new behavior? So I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. What is your fear if you were healed or if you were in a new pattern? Number 2, What is your current situation providing you? Because if we keep looping in the same experience that comes again and again, it is providing us something. And this might be on a deep subconscious level. But having the awareness of that and making changes with it makes it so that we have less of a resistance towards what we are trying to reach. Question number 3 I want you to ask yourself is, what would you lose that you currently have if you healed or changed this pattern? And I want you to be really honest with yourself on this one. Because this can be love. Are you afraid of losing love if this changed? Are people more attuned to you because you are in an experience of a disease or ailment? Or because you are keeping yourself in a certain situation in your life that you don't want, that you're not enjoying, and everything in you probably consciously wants to move past it. But you have to be aware of what is keeping you in it. And that might be subconscious. Maybe it is help. Maybe it is boundaries. Do you get more closeness from people if you are in this pattern or if you are in the experience of an ailment? And also remember that if you can't say no to something, the body will say no for you. This is also really important. And I can say this as a recovering good girl, people pleaser, all of that. That one of my patterns that I had to really change was to stand up for myself and say no. Because my body started saying no for me. And it was speaking very loud. That means that when I recognized that pattern, I had to change my whole thinking. I had to reprogram my whole thinking and my brain on that. So I started practicing, even when I was in the experience that, okay, I can't do this thing right now because there is some certain physical limitation in this exact situation. I started practicing saying no without using the body as an excuse. And that was challenging. I didn't manage it in all situations, but I started focusing on it. I started catching myself when I used the body as an excuse, because I know that if my body was going to start trusting me again, I needed to show my body that I can say no, that I can take care of it, and that I can be loving towards my body, because otherwise it will say stop. So look at that as well. Would you lose the ability to say no to something and have your boundaries if you healed or if you changed a pattern? And when you go into these 3 questions that I just gave you, I want you to also observe yourself in the way you are meeting the new awarenesses that might arise. If this brought you some new awareness, don't shame yourself. Remember that we want always to move towards more self-love, not into judgment, criticism, and shaming ourselves. Celebrate the awareness that you just gained, because that is your ticket to change, because that makes it so that you can release resistance, understand what is actually playing in the subconscious, and you can remove your obstacles and you can keep moving forward. That is something to celebrate. And remember that all kind of, now the understanding is really important, right? So all kinds of coping mechanisms comes from something. It assisted you in a situation in your life, and then repeating that coping mechanism again and again and again and again it was serving you, but it's no longer serving you. So don't judge yourself for doing it now, because when it started, there was a reason why. And if you're ready to move beyond being the victim of whatever happened, even though in the situation we are victims, if there's a trauma or whatever it has been that has created it in the start, but if you're ready to move past that and actually see that this is not what's happening right now, but I can make new choices. I can become aware of these patterns, and I have certain coping mechanisms that was serving me at some point. It's no longer, so now I am choosing to do the work to expand beyond those coping mechanisms, to change my patterns, to change the behavior, to move beyond whatever I am gaining from being in a physical experience of disease or ailment, and also meeting whatever fear you might have of the situation of actually being healed or being in the new pattern, because that will require things from you that are not required from you at this moment. So it's important to have awareness of the whole picture in order to fully change. This is transformation. The transformation is on all levels. And it's the same with, just as another example, with addiction, for example. No matter what, whether it's a substance addiction, or it's social media addiction, or it is, some certain behaviors we are addicted to, it always has an element of connection in it. So there's a lack of the feeling of connection, so there's a void that we're trying to fill. And so instead of judging the actual addiction and judging that behavior, remember that you are not the behavior. This is really important. That's the same thing with not identifying with a diagnosis or identifying with a pattern or a certain type of situation that just keeps looping in your life. You are not that. But if you are in the behavior of addiction, what is really happening is that there's a void, and you try to you search for a feeling of connection. So having the awareness of what is the deeper thing that is happening here, and those two main things that I mentioned from the start. Are you trying to fix yourself, telling yourself inherently that there's something wrong with you? And what are you gaining from the situation? What is your fear of the change? And what would you lose that you now have? I hope this is helpful for you. Please pass the video along if you know someone who might get some help from this awareness. And as always, thank you for commenting, liking, subscribing. It really helps my work to expand, and I do love my work, so I'm very grateful for that. I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.